Hello. Thank you so much for your willingness to participate in this research interview. I've been studying the idea that there's a lack of skill provided to teachers in order for them to support the social emotional needs of students and create inclusive, culturally responsive classrooms. Through this interview, I hope to gain a better perspective of your perception of your needs and the types of professional development you believe would be most effective in order to provide you with these necessary skills. Do you have any questions before we start this interview?
No, thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to participating in the interview.
Okay, great. Can you tell me about a professional development course you took that you felt was the most productive?
Well, I've taken many professional development courses, but definitely the ones that stick out the most is technology based. Things have changed so much since the beginning, since I started teaching here in 2004. And so, starting, we were used to work with projectors and plastic paper to write on dry erase markers. But now, with technology, all kinds of games that are useful for the students, Google, and Google Slides. So, technology is definitely the one that stands out always the most. It keeps me updated with everything that's going on with technology.
Definitely. And if you're thinking about now these technology professional development courses that you've taken, what are some defining characteristics that make it a productive professional development course for you?
Well, they definitely help you figure out number one, they give you a lot of options for you to use. It's not always, and it's not only one thing that you could use. They just provide many ways to use one thing. So I think that's very helpful. And they also teach you how to apply it in your classroom. They in the courses they make you do lessons based on the technology that they provide, and then that way you could you share with other colleagues, and then you see how other people use the same technology and how you use it, and then it just helps just create better lessons.
Great. So, from my understanding of what you're saying, it's really helpful when they provide you with concrete examples in the setting of the classroom.
100%.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
How
Sometimes I'm sorry.
No, go.
Sometimes that you could just kind of copy that and just use your own subject, your own material, and just replace everything that they provided, and it just helps. And once you have the main, like one thing that they give you, then you could just make it into so many different things once you have that first one down.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agreed. Do you feel that this type of professional development helps you to support the social emotional needs of your students?
No, unfortunately not. No.
Okay.
It's mostly just helps really creating lessons,
Right.
but does not really support social emotional issues in the classroom.
No. Okay. How do you feel your cultural background shapes you as an educator?
My parents are immigrants, and even though I was born in the United States, I did move back to Argentina when I was young. And I'm also now a Spanish teacher, and there's so many different countries that speak Spanish, and they do not all share the same cultures, food, music. So also growing up in Queens, which is very diverse, has helped me a lot. And even I listen to all kinds of music from different Spanish-speaking countries, and I'm able to share that with all my students.
Okay, great. How do you use the backgrounds of your students to inform instruction, if you do at all?
I'm always very interested in where all my students are from, their background, their families, where they come from, the music, the food. I love trying different food from all over the world. So I always try to find out what they like to eat or what they eat at home. And so that kind of helps. And I like to talk about those kinds of things, about food and music and culture in the classroom. And I'll mention from any country, especially here in Deer Park, since this is very diverse. We're able to talk about Bengali food or Chinese food or any Jamaican food, Haitian food, and so on.
That's awesome. All right. How do you believe your students' culture informs their individual cognition, emotions, behaviors in your class, etc.? So how do you believe that their culture is influenced by these things? The way they behave, their emotions they may display.
It's a definitely, you could definitely notice there are some things that are acceptable in certain cultures that are not in others, and you clearly see it. And it takes a little while to understand, like, what, in his culture, her culture, it's not typical to look in the eye or be super friendly. In other cultures, they're extremely friendly and affectionate and things like that. So definitely you see it in a classroom every day.
Yeah, Great. And in your opinion, what does a teacher need to do to support these social emotional needs of students?
Well, really, it's getting to know the students individually, like from from the beginning of the school year. Be interested in their lives, in their family life, in their culture, the country where they are from, and just be involved in what they like to do, and just have personal conversations, even as they're walking in. Just have start up conversations with them and to learn about them, and then that obviously will help you learn about the culture in general, and you can always apply it in the next class with a student from the same country.
That's true. Very true. And now I'm going to shift it from social emotional to culturally responsive classroom. In your opinion, what are some key characteristics that represent a culturally responsive classroom? If you were thinking about looking at a class and you wanted to say, hey, this is a culturally responsive classroom because I see these elements, incorporated in it.
As far as my lesson goes,
Yeah, as far as a lesson goes. Or it could be anything. It could be environmental, whatever in your mind. When you hear culturally responsive classroom, is there any key terms that kind of pop out? And maybe there's none, but what do you think of when you hear that term?
I guess mostly just addressing a topic that could apply for everybody. It's not just exclusive to one group of people. That you're talking about something that really everybody could relate to in some way, and that's it.
Right. How do you attempt to create a inclusive environment in your own classroom?
With all our lessons, again, being a world language teacher, I feel like it's one of the easiest subjects to include culture in the lessons. There's so many different Spanish speaking countries, and they don't all share the same way of speaking and traditions, and so we incorporate that on a daily basis.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to shift to talk a little bit now about the professional development that's been offered to you within your district. So based on the PD courses that you have taken here at the high school, do you believe that you have been provided with the necessary skills that you would need to create culturally responsive classrooms and to support the social emotional needs of all our students?
I don't believe so. I think that because of the pandemic, the priority was technology, being able to come up with lessons and be able to conduct class using technology.
Yeah.
And I believe that maybe the social emotional has been set aside just so that we are able to create lessons properly.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I don't think that's any professional development has been provided in regards to that.
Okay. And what do you believe is lacking from these PD courses? Like if you can say, hey, you know what, I took a course, but this is a specific element that I really wish was incorporated that I'm not seeing.
I think that, I have taken other courses where the ideas seem fantastic, but realistically, it's just very, very difficult to apply into our everyday class.
Okay.
One of those, for example, the classes are very large and awesome.
So what type of professional development courses would you like to see offered in the future to attain this goal?
That's a tricky question because there's a lot of professional development courses that could be given. The only problem is having the support in the classroom. That's really what I find most difficult, that so many students are SPRs and with modifications, and so it's hard to really reach out to every single individual in the classroom when there's 28 in the classroom.
Okay.
But that's pretty much it.
Okay. And what type of professional development do you find most effective for yourself?
As far as social emotional?
Just in general, what do you find most effective?
Like very, very straight to the point.
Yeah.
Something that's very specific. So for the technology is pretty specific. That's what works best, like really giving really good directives.
Okay. And in your opinion, how can the district better support you as a teacher to achieve these goals of creating culturally responsive classrooms that support the social emotional needs of students?
It needs to be more of a community, the colleagues and every worker in the school working together to help the individuals that stand out. That's it.
Okay. So thank you so much. At this time, I have no further questions. Is there anything else you would like to ask me or any questions that you would like to ask me before we conclude the interview?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
All right.